I brought 1 million in cash to the mountains to buy honey, but just as I was about to load it up, all the beekeepers raised the price together. The price we had agreed on beforehand suddenly meant nothing. They even threatened to let the honey rot in the barrels rather than sell it to me. Mr. Swang, the market price is 80 per kilo now. You're offering 30? Ha, that's robbery. I was stunned on the spot as I looked at that unfamiliar young man. The village chief hurried to explain. Mr. Swan, this is Shanghao, Aunt Chen's son-in-law. He's a university graduate who understands economics. Today, he'll act as the intermediary between you and everyone. When I saw the familiar beekeepers hiding behind Shanghao with evasive looks on their faces, I knew this was not going to be simple. The contract is already signed. The price is fixed. What is there to negotiate? Even so, I kept smiling. We're in a hurry. Let's load everything first. Once we finish loading, we can sit down and talk calmly. Stop right there. The moment I finished speaking, Aunt Chen rushed out from the crowd, spread her arms wide, and blocked the honey barrels. Let's see who dares touch my honey. Aunt Chen, what does this mean? We have a signed contract in black and white. Today is the delivery day. I brought cash payment. Are you really going back on your word? Shanghao, standing beside her, let out a mocking laugh. Don't wave that worthless piece of paper around to scare honest people. This is a market economy. Everything should follow market laws. Then he turned toward the beekeepers. Tell him, what's the price of honey online right now? More than 80, even 100. One of the beekeepers pulled out his phone and showed a screenshot of online prices. Seeing this, Shanghao looked at me and said, Mr. Shang, don't you think the price you're offering is a little unfair? Although I was boiling inside, I stayed patient and explained carefully. Mr. Shang, that's not how calculations work. First, those are retail prices, not wholesale prices. Second, in business, contracts must be respected. A month ago, when nobody was buying your honey, I offered you a guaranteed minimum price. Back then, you weren't talking about market economics. Besides, so the village honey could be transported more easily. Pointing at the road beneath my feet, I continued. I spent 200,000 repairing this road, and those beehives were gifts from me. If we're talking about market economics, shouldn't those costs be included too? That was your own choice. Who asked you to fix the road? You wanted to do it. That's your sunk cost. What does it have to do with the price of our honey? I stared at Aunt Chen in disbelief. A month ago, she had been a humble beekeeper who only knew how to say thank you, yet now she was casually throwing around technical economic terms like sunk cost. I froze for a moment, then coldly looked at Shanghao. Sunk cost? Did you teach them that? I'm just explaining some basic concepts, so unscrupulous businessmen won't exploit them and still expect gratitude afterward. Mr. Swan, don't bring up the road. The road is already built. It's also more convenient for you to enter and leave now. In the end, it was for your own benefit. He waved his hand impatiently. Enough talk. If the honey stays at 30, you won't get a single kilo. If you want to load it, you'll have to pay the current market price. And how much do you want? Considering the road, we're not asking for 80. Shanghao showed a number with his fingers. 50 per kilo, not 1 cent less. Right now, the national average purchase price for first-grade honey is between 35 and 38. You're asking for 50. That's extortion. Suit yourself. The honey is in our hands. If your 15 trucks return empty, you'll lose tens of thousands just in fuel and contract penalties. Then, he lowered his voice. And your contract is clearly unfair. If we go to court, maybe we won't even lose. I observed Shanghao's sly face. Mr. Swang, you can package and sell this honey at 120 easily. Sharing a little wouldn't hurt, would it? Don't be so greedy or you might choke on it later. Then he looked toward Village Chief Li. You think the same too, right, Mr. Swang? Everyone's struggling these days, and the market really has gone up. Couldn't you be a little more generous? To you, it's just earning a little less. A little less? Originally, I had planned to offer 38, but now, seeing these people mistake my goodwill for weakness and my efforts as something owed to them, all my generosity had gone to waste. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, but in the end, I restrained myself. I'm a businessman. I calculate not only economic costs, but emotional costs as well. It would be a pity to break the deal now. This honey is excellent, but 50 is completely impossible. Considering that you've been affected by the weather, and that your thinking has changed, I can make a concession. Shanghao looked at me, thinking he had forced me to bend. I'm not an inflexible man. 38. That's the maximum I can offer. Those extra 8 are my gesture of goodwill. Now let's load the trucks and pay in cash. At that time, in the honey market, this was already the highest purchase price possible. I believed I was giving them a generous way out. With even a little common sense, they should have accepted. But I underestimated human greed. 38? That's charity money. Shanghao said it's worth 80. And you offer 38? Are you mocking us? 51. Not 1 cent less. If you're not interested, you can leave. We'll sell this honey ourselves online. Don't say we didn't warn you. Yeah, we'll sell it ourselves. The beekeepers became excited. Some even started shoving my driver. Looking at those furious faces, I suddenly found the cash in my trunk ridiculous. Before, because of the terrible roads and isolated location, the local honey remained unsold year after year. At its worst, it barely reached 15 per kilo. When I heard about it, I not only paid out of pocket to repair the road, but also offered a high price of 30 per kilo and promised to buy all the honey, both first and second grade, at the same price. Considering transportation and storage losses, I ordered a batch of food-grade high-density polyethylene containers and had several hundred temperature-controlled beehives manufactured. I delivered them personally in advance, but then an unexpected cold wave swept across the country. A late hailstorm hit the northern honey-producing regions, causing widespread frost damage, while continuous rains cut production in the major southern regions by half. Yet Fenggon-kun, thanks to its special location protected by mountains that blocked the cold, suffered no damage at all. In fact, because of the lack of rain, the nectar became even more concentrated. The market price rose to 35 per kilo, so I made a decision to raise the price. Tell finance to prepare the cash. 38 per kilo. Boss, the contract was 30. If we raise it now, we'll lose hundreds of thousands. We need to think long-term. We're buying goodwill. They need to see that doing business with me won't make them lose. I believed honesty would be repaid with honesty. That was my arrogance. Fine then. Sell it yourselves. I nodded, slowly folded the contract, and put it into my pocket. Then I turned toward the drivers. There was no anger left on my face, only a frightening calm. Everyone back to the trucks. We're returning to the city. Lao Chao was stunned, nearly dropping the walkie-talkie from his hand. Mr. Swang, we're really leaving? There are 15 trucks here. We've already spent a lot on fuel. Why not keep negotiating? Offer them 40. This honey is really good. We can sell it immediately once we take it back. There's nothing left to negotiate. Lao Yao, remember this. In business, you can lose money and earn it back. But if people step on your head while you're forced to smile, you'll never stand tall again. This is an order. Everyone back to the trucks. That scene completely exceeded everyone's expectations. They thought I would beg, that I would eventually submit like a snake having its throat squeezed and finally accept their ridiculous 50. After all, who would willingly lose the hundreds of thousands spent on the road? Shanghao, furious, rushed forward, pointing at us. Xuan Bifan, you dare leave? If you go today, tomorrow, even if you kneel, we won't sell you a single drop. I stopped, turned around, and looked at him like he was a clown. Neighbors, remember carefully what you said today. Whether it was me or you who broke your word, God sees everything. Don't threaten us with God. We're selling our rights. You're the greedy one. Fine. Since you believe you can sell it for 100 through live streams, then I sincerely wish you luck. That kind of fortune is too great for me, Swang, to deserve. Enjoy it yourselves. After saying that, I got into the car without looking back. When the trucks disappeared into the mountain pass, cheers erupted across Fengman Kun. As soon as I left, Shanghao jumped onto the village millstone and shouted, "Neighbors, did you see that? The capitalist is just a paper tiger." He panicked because he realized he couldn't make money from our sweat anymore. We won! Of course. Our honey is so good, buyers won't be lacking. Let's listen to how. Let's live stream it at 80, maybe even 100. That day, Fengman Kun celebrated as if it were a festival. They were drunk with joy from defeating capital, not realizing they had just severed the only connection that isolated valley had with the modern world. They thought they had driven away a blood-sucking wolf, but they didn't realize they were saying goodbye to the only person who had extended a hand to them during their hardest days. Back at the company, I asked the finance director to return the 1 million in cash. Boss, what about the 200,000 for the road, the equipment advance, and the beehives? That's 400,000 in total. How do we cover that? Consider it tuition fees. Then I added, notify the legal department. We're suing every beekeeper who signed the contract. We probably won't recover the money, but we'll leave a nice stain on their credit records. Understood. And how do we cover the missing production? Contact the bases in Yunnan. It'll cost more, but they have enough supply. We'll earn less, but we can't lose our reputation. After giving my instructions, I opened my phone and saw that Chang Hao had created an account on a short video platform called Brother Hao the Beekeeper. He uploaded a video titled, "University Graduate Returns to the Village to Start a Business. Taste the authentic flavor of the mountains without middlemen." His first live stream would begin that very night. When I entered the stream, there were already a couple hundred viewers. He was standing in Aunt Chen's yard with the blue barrels I had gifted stacked behind him. The lighting was dim, the image blurry. Shang Hao wore an ill-fitting suit and shouted toward the camera, "Friends, look at this. This is pure mountain honey, natural and pollution-free. Today, Brother Hao brings you a special offer. It's not 99.98, not 98, only 88 per kilo with shipping included." He held up a spoon I had custom-made for sampling, scooped out some honey, and stretched it toward the camera. "Look at this color. Look how sticky it is. Anyone who understands honey, type 'I want it' on the screen." Aunt Chen and several older women acted as extras with forced smiles, holding handmade cardboard signs reading 100% natural. I looked at the comments. 88? Too expensive. The supermarket sells it for 40. The guy above doesn't understand. This is mountain honey. Supermarket honey is syrup. Do you have a food handling license? Do you have quality certification? Which delivery company are you using? What kind of packaging do you have? We're independent producers. The state supports us. We don't need all those papers. At that point, I closed the live stream. A cold smile appeared on my face. Ignorance is fearless. They thought live stream selling just meant shouting at a camera and waiting for money to pour in. They didn't realize that without a recognized brand, building trust is extremely difficult. Without professional packaging, the breakage rate during shipping is incredibly high. 5 out of every 10 jars would break. Worst of all, they lacked a food handling license. Small-scale direct sales are permitted under certain conditions, but once they entered the platform, the so-called professional lawsuit hunters would notice them. That would become their downfall. And then there was the price they set. At that price range, consumers expect excellent packaging, service, and logistics. Yet they wanted to sell basic plastic jars like luxury products. Pure fantasy. And exactly as expected, problems arrived quickly. On the first day, thanks to the story of a university graduate returning to the village and support from acquaintances, they received a few hundred orders. Aunt Chen and the others were ecstatic. They spent the entire night filling honey into water bottles and sauce jars, wrapping them in newspaper, and stuffing them into boxes. Shipping alone cost 12 per order. The profits Chang Hao had promised shrank significantly once packaging and shipping costs were deducted. Even so, selling at 88 still left them more than 70 per kilo, far more than my 38. The beekeepers were highly motivated and even mocked me, but the joy did not last long. Within a few days, the first orders reached customers, and disaster began. Ouch! What's happening? My phone won't stop ringing. They're all insults. Shang Hao had been dreaming of becoming rich while lying in bed. Annoyed, he picked up his phone and instantly turned pale as a wall. The screen was filled with refund requests and negative reviews. One customer complained about poor packaging and leaking honey. Others doubted the product's authenticity. Some even threatened lawsuits. Not knowing what to do, Shang Hao desperately tried to explain. "Dear customer, it was an accident during shipping. Real honey has a slightly sour taste." But nobody listened. Because of the high complaint rate and lack of proper food distribution documents, the platform intervened. happened. Shang Hao's account was suspended and his security deposit was frozen. Worse still, the customers who received broken containers not only demanded refunds, but also compensation for stained clothes and damaged floors. In just 1 week, out of 300 orders, 90% were returned. The remaining 10% were only kept because customers were too lazy to return them, but they still left negative reviews. Aunt Chen looked at the house filled with sticky returned packages and the frozen account notice on her phone, then collapsed to the floor, slapping her thighs and crying. "Oh my god, what are we going to do? We lost thousands on shipping costs, didn't earn a single cent, and now we still have to pay more." Shang Hao was crouched in a corner, sweating heavily, completely stripped of the arrogance he had shown while preaching from atop the millstone. The worst part was that, because they used unsanitary containers and temperatures had begun to rise, that high-quality honey, lacking professional sealing and treatment, started fermenting inside the plastic barrels. The sweet floral aroma that once filled the air slowly mixed with a sour alcoholic smell.
Stop.